guys, welcome to another range day here. Several people saw my 322 video last week and asked me to do a comparison against the TX22, so that's what we're going to do. We're going to start with a series of drills putting the guns head to head and see how I do with them, and then we're going to sit down and discuss the results. Now, as a disclaimer, I shot the P322 for the first time last week. I shot about 380 rounds. Now, I have over 1,000 rounds through my TX22, but I haven't shot it in about 6 months, so keep that in mind. Otherwise, to keep things fair, I cleaned both guns last night, and we're only going to be shooting CCI standard ammunition because I know it runs well in both guns. Some of the drills are going to be run suppressed with my dead air mask, and then others are just going to be unsuppressed. All right, let's do this. All right, so we're going to start off here with a 2-2-2 drill. So I'm going to do 2 shots on each of the silhouettes, and we're going to time it with the competition timer, and we're going to see how it goes. Okay. So that was 5.56 seconds. Splits were 16 and 16. Okay. See what those shots were with the P322. All right, let's try that again. 6 shots with the P322. All right. So that was 3 seconds. I don't think that's right. Let's see, we had a 14 and a 19 split. And then an 18. So pretty big group on the first one. Tighten up a little bit there. And then a nice group on the last one. A little slow on the transitions though. All right, so now the 222 with the Taurus TX22. See how it does. All right, so that was 243. Splits were 15, 16, 15. Not bad. Really like that group there. Don't really like that group. And that one's acceptable. All right, one more time. 222 with the TX22. See how it goes. Okay. 260. Had a 15 split, a 17 split, and then another 15 split. Really like that group. Really like that one. That's okay. All right, so we're going to be doing a modified build drill. We're going to be starting from a low ready, and then we're going to do 5 rapid fire shots on silhouette. We're going to do the TX22 first on the left target, and then we're going to do the P322 on the right target. We're going to see how they compare. Okay. All right, so that was 174 for the TX22. Splits were 16, 16, 17, 15. All right, not too bad. Let's see how we do the 322. All right, same thing now with the P322. Low ready build drill. See how it goes. Okay. All right, so the P322 was 146. Split times were 17, 18, 17, 18. So let's see how we did. So with the TX22, a little bit bigger than a fist-sized group with a flyer there. And then roughly the same, a little bit to the right. It's possible that my zero was a little bit off with the P322, but pretty similar size group. Let's try it again, see how we do. All right, so same thing again. We're going to do another build drill, this time with the P322 first. So let's see how we do. Okay. So that was 160. And let's see the split times there. Felt a little better. Yep, 16, 16, 15, 17. Not too bad. All right, let's try the Taurus. All right, now with the TX22, let's see how we do. Okay. All right, so that was 175. And the splits were 17, 16, 15, 16. Let's see how the groups look. Again, a little bit bigger than a fist-size group with a flyer on the TX22. And actually a little bit of a tighter group with the P322. Not bad. All right, now we're going to do some reload drills. So I'm going to fire one shot, reload, and then fire another shot. We're going to start here with the TX22. We're going to put on the timer, see how fast we can go. All right, let's do it. Okay. Slide didn't lock back for me. That was 4.4 seconds. All right, let's try it again. Reload drill with the TX22. Okay, shots looked good. We were at 335, much better. All right, one more time, TX22, see how it goes. Okay, good hits. 294, not too bad. All right, now we're gonna do the same thing, reload drills with the P322. Let's see how it goes. Okay. 371. All right, same thing, reload drill with the P322. See how we do. .316. All right, one more, P322. Let's see how we do. That was 314, but it didn't lock open on me, so that was actually probably the fastest. All right, now we're gonna run the plates, 5 shots from left to right, 1 on each plate. We're gonna run it suppressed, so the timer's not gonna pick up the shot, so we're just gonna run it without it. Let's see how we do. All right, let's do one more. All right, now we're gonna do the same thing with the Taurus TX22, left to right. See how we do. All right, we'll do the same thing again, left to right, see how we do. All right, now we're gonna run the tiny little dueling tree there. We'll start with the TX22, we'll see how we do. All right, now same thing with the 322. We got 10 shots here. We're gonna see how we do on the dueling tree. All right, folks, we ran out of time at the range today, so I hope you can forgive me for the change of scenery here, but let's talk about this. All right, so first things first, we're gonna have a little bit of a disclaimer. I've never had issues with CCI standard in the TX22 today. It would not fire and eject the first round in any magazine today. Now, unfortunately, I did only bring 2 magazines for the Taurus, which was a mistake on my part, so I apologize for that. I don't know if the issue was with the magazines or if it may have had something to do with the cleaning that I did, if perhaps I maybe over-cleaned or over-oiled or something like that. It's never done that for me before, so I'm not going to hold it against it because I had over 1,000 rounds last year without a single failure with CCI standard. So I'm going to say it's something that I did, but I was able to get enough footage to be able to compare the two, and we can talk about that here. All right, so with that out of the way, let's talk about the shooting experience of these 2 firearms, and they are both awesome. I'm going to tell you right away, very difficult to pick a winner or to pick a favorite, but I do have some thoughts on this. All right, so starting with weight, the TX22 does weigh 1 pound, 8.2 ounces unloaded with an empty magazine, as you see it configured here with the Vortex Venom 3 MOA red dot. Now the SIG, by comparison, weighs 1 pound and 2.5 ounces unloaded with an empty magazine. Again, as you see it here with the Hollow Sun red dot. So that's about a 6-ounce difference between the two. So what does that mean? When I talk about recoil control and speed back on target, yes, these are 22s. There is barely any recoil at all. However, there is a difference. So the TX22, definitely faster back on target, less dot movement, and we're going to talk about that more a little bit later. The SIG, definitely really light and handy in the hand, and definitely still very quick, but in terms of recoil control and speed back on target, the TX22 was definitely a little bit faster for me. I think you're best going to see that if you look at the plates. And if you look at the dueling trees. those two drills really showcase how the TX22 can transition, for me, quicker from target to target. The biggest difference here, and we are going to be talking about this quite a bit in a few different sections here today, when we talk about the optic on this, the Taurus's optic is mounted to the barrel hood. And what's significant about that is under fire, the red dot does not reciprocate with the slide. So the slide reciprocates and the red dot does not move. That is unusual for a full-size centerfire handgun. Now the P322 is more like a standard centerfire handgun in that as you fire, the red dot reciprocates with the slide. So that is a big difference, and what that ends up being is you get almost no movement of the dot on the TX22, whereas on the SIG, the dot does reciprocate with the slide, which is more in line with your typical centerfire handgun, but is definitely a different feel than what you have on the Taurus. All right, so let's get into a little bit of the nitty-gritty here. So let's talk magazines first. So the Taurus magazines, they're a little bit less expensive. And they are 16 round magazines. It does not come with a mag loader. I purchased a mag loader separately. I think I got it on Amazon, maybe pretty inexpensive. But the tabs here are very narrow and they're kind of indented. So they don't really stick out much from the side of the magazine, which makes it very difficult to do with just your hands. But with a mag loader, easy as pie. Now the SIG magazines, they are a little bit more expensive. They do hold 20 rounds and the tabs are a lot easier to use with just your fingers, but then it also comes with a mag loader, so that is a bonus there for the SIG. Now SIG's apparently going to be coming out with 25 round magazines, but I'm not sure what the availability is going to look like on those, so we'll have to wait and see what that looks like in the future. All right, so reloads. So as far as the mag release here, on the Taurus, the mag, I think, drops a little bit slower than, yeah, well, it's pretty close, but it's maybe slightly slower on the Taurus than on the SIG. But for me, and it may just be because of practice, the more full-size grip is a very nice aiming point when aiming for your reload. The smaller grip here, there is a generous mag well, which helps guide it. So I think they're pretty equal, and if you were to look at my times on the reload drills, I think that that kind of proves out there as well. The other factor when it comes to reloads is the mag release button. The mag release button here on the TX22, if you can see, it is flush with the trigger guard hoop that comes up into the grip area. And so it does take a little bit to get in there, but it has never once bothered me. It's kind of the way the grip is fashioned. It fits perfectly. My thumb rests right on the mag release, so it's really, really easy. Now the SIG is extended, so that's actually pretty nice and makes it really easy to get to. That click you're hearing, from a dry fire perspective, when these tabs are all the way up, the tabs do click on the mag well sometimes for me, but that's just a dry fire thing, so it's not going to be an issue during live fire. As for the slide release, not a huge difference between the two, aside from the Taurus not being ambidextrous, whereas the SIG is ambidextrous, so that is pretty cool and definitely a bonus for the lefties out there with the SIG. But in terms of the feel, I would say the SIG is maybe a little bit more extended and a little bit quicker to actuate, but I don't think there's a huge difference there. All right, now let's talk safeties. For me, big win for the SIG on the safety. The safety is very positive. It's ambidextrous. It's very easy to click up with the knuckle of my thumb. It's perfectly positioned for me, for my hands. Now, for my hand, the Taurus, you'll see my knuckle is in front of, and so I actually miss it, and it's pretty well recessed there. So I have to break my grip, and it's not quite as positive. It is positive, but it's not, it doesn't quite have the same feel. And again, I have to kind of break my grip to actuate it. So when I'm actually at, you know, an action pistol match and I'm trying to, you know, go safe between stages, it is a little bit more difficult with this, whereas the SIG is just very, very natural feeling. So I would say for me personally, big win for SIG on the safety. All right, so now let's talk about the pistol grip and the feel in the hand. There's a big difference here. So the Taurus feels like much more of a full-size handgun to me. I did do a size comparison in my last video. The SIG P322 is narrower than the Taurus TX22. You'll also see here, if I put the P322 on top here, you'll see that there's a big hump in the back here of the TX22. For my pretty large hands, that hump feels great. It really helps me get a good firm grip on the pistol. The 322 feels excellent, and it's a really nice texture. It is a better texture than the TX22. It feels like a supersized 365 XL. I think, to me, and but it feels very familiar. It feels very SIG-like. I definitely love the feel of it, but it is a bit smaller, whereas again the TX22 just feels like a full-size handgun, and so I really like the feel of the TX22 a little bit more for me personally. But again, you know, when you factor in the weight as well, depends on what you're looking to do with it. But I do like the extra weight of the TX22 because it does keep it on target quicker, whereas the SIG, you know, jumps around a little bit more. But again, we're talking about 22 here, so it is pretty negligible. All right, now this is probably everybody's favorite topic, the triggers. So let's take a look at these triggers here. The TX22 trigger has less travel. Okay, so you've got that take up there, and then a little bit of sponge, and then it's a nice hard wall, and then more sponginess, and then there's your break. Really, really clean, light break, and then the reset, really short, and then you're right back there, nice and crisp. Now for the SIG, it is a bit of a longer trigger pull, so you get a lot of sponginess and a wall right here that you have to pull through. More sponge. Nice clean break though, very, very clean. But then take a look at the reset. All the way out there. And then more sponge. So as far as weight goes, I measured them both right around 3.5 pounds. So they're very similar in terms of weight. But I can tell you that in terms of being able to go fast, if that's your goal, that shorter reset on the Taurus compared to the SIG, they're both very tactile resets, but the Taurus definitely gets a win for me in the trigger department, personally. All right, so let's say you want to attach a suppressor. The Taurus TX22, and again, we are obviously looking at the competition model here, it has a threaded barrel from the factory, which is great. It works perfectly. It's exactly what you want. It comes with a thread protector. It's great. Now, when we look at the SIG, it is not threaded, but it does come with a threaded barrel adapter. You'll notice, maybe you will, this is where the threaded barrel adapter would go. My threaded barrel adapter came off with my dead air mask when I took it off today. So my intent was to say that it works great. The first day out, no problem at all. Today, it did come off. Now, it's very easy to get off, just a little wrench, screw right off, no problem at all. But worth noting that you may have your adapter come off with your suppressor if there's any issues there, but not a big deal, just something worth noting. All right, now let's talk slide serrations. Slide serrations are something that I really like. I love having front slide serrations on a gun. I just think that it looks good, but it's also very functional, whether you're doing press checks or check to make sure the ammo is there, whatever it is. The SIG P322 slide serrations are excellent. They work great from the rear. They work great from the front. I like that it's kind of beveled in here on the slide. Really easy to get a good grip there from any angle. Great, excellent. No problems there at all. Now the Taurus does have good slide serrations. They're not as grippy as the SIG. Now they do have slide serrations on the front as well. However, because of where the optic is located and because there's very little to grab onto there, I don't think that they're as effective. They look good, but they're not quite as functional as the SIG. So if you're concerned about slide serrations, personally, I prefer the SIG. All right, now here's a big topic, the optic cuts. So if you are not intending to run an optic, I would just get the standard TX22 without the optic. It's going to be less expensive. It's a similar size to the P322, and it should run great for you. But if your intent is to get an optic, you've got two really, really awesome options here. Now, the SIG can run Shield RMS, SIG Romeo 0, and Holosun K series red dots, and they are mounted directly to the slide, which is really, really nice. The Optic does, as we mentioned before, reciprocate under fire, which is just like a centerfire handgun would. So if your goal is training, that is definitely going to be what you would want to be training with, in my opinion. Now for the Taurus, this can use just about any red dot optic you can think of. So it's got this really cool system where it's mounting to the barrel hood, and then it has 2 plates that can flip around. So it's essentially 4 different configurations to run Vortex, Trijicon, Holosun, just about anything you can think of will fit on the Taurus TX22 competition. So if you've got a few different red dots you want to try, or if you've got something that is not going to be compatible on the SIG, then the Taurus might be a better choice. Again, the big thing here is under fire, where the red dot is not going to be reciprocating. That makes a huge difference in terms of dot movement and in terms of time back on target, at least in my experience. Now, the one other issue that we haven't talked about with the optics that is a big factor, the SIG P322 can, with the right red dot, co-witness. I don't know about Shield RMS, but with the Holosun, and then also again with the Romeo Zero, you've got these little rear sight notches in here, which allows it to co-witness with the front sight. So that is really, really cool, and I definitely love co-witnessing, not just because it helps you find the dot, which is really helpful for a lot of people, but for me as well, I like that it can kind of confirm your zero or reconfirm, especially if you have to take the red dot off, and you can put it back on and then reconfirm that it's still lined up with your iron, so you know you've got your zero. With the Taurus, the optic sits a little bit higher. It does not co-witness with your iron sights, so that is one thing to keep in mind as well. All right, so what's the verdict? Which gun is better? Is the SIG P322 better? Is the Taurus TX22 better? At the end of the day, in my opinion, both of these guns are fantastic. I love them both, so it's really hard to pick a winner. Ultimately, my recommendation is going to be for you to get both of them in your hands, see what feels better to you. And, you know, honestly, also maybe not a popular opinion, but I believe that the gun that you choose should look cool to you as well. I know that's an unpopular thing to say, but in my opinion, if the gun looks cool to you, then you're going to get excited about it when you see it in your safe, and you're going to be more likely to pick it up, practice dry firing, and bring it to the range, and that's what's really important. So I actually do think that aesthetics do matter when it comes to choosing a handgun or a rifle or whatever it may be. Now, with that said, if it's just not possible for you to get this in your hands and you're looking to me for advice, here's my recommendations. I have 2 recommendations based on my personal experience, and it's going to be on your primary use case. So if your primary use case is competition, you want a laser beam that's going to feel almost like you're cheating because it's so flat shooting and the dot just flat out does not move, I'm going to say get the Taurus TX22 competition. It's extremely flat shooting, has no recoil at all, suppresses really well, and it just flies through drills. I absolutely love this gun for competition. It's what I used all last year. It worked beautifully for me. Now, if your primary use case is inexpensive training with a gun that feels and operates similar to your full-size pistol, especially if it's a SIG pistol, I would absolutely recommend getting the SIG. The fact that the red dot reciprocates is actually a bonus in this application because it's going to be the reality of most centerfire pistol dots. And so getting used to that, what that looks like and how it feels is very important. It still shoots very flat. It still is a laser beam, super accurate and fast. It's lightweight, it's handy, the mags are high capacity. It's got an awful lot going for it. In my opinion, I look at this as a perfect training pistol, and I look at the Taurus as a perfect competition pistol. All right, guys, that's what I got for you today. Hopefully this was helpful. I know I had a bunch of people asking me to do this. These are 2 very popular models. I hope that this comparison helps you make a decision. I hope that if you do get one of these pistols, that you practice with it, train with it, have tons of fun with it, whatever you're looking to do. Both awesome guns. We've got a lot more content on the way, so make sure to like and subscribe and stay tuned. And thanks for stopping by.